It's on.
Hi.
Hi.
I didn't know it was going.
I asked you if you were ready. You're like, yeah.
I did say that.
You did.
Welcome back to the Poisoner's Almanac. I'm your co-host, Adam.
I'm Rebecca.
And we were both equally ready to start this episode.
You're in like hardcore vacation mode.
100%.
I'm technically at my mom's house up here in Beaufort. So kind of staycation, but in a different location.
Yeah.
Which is kind of great.
I love being here. Mm-hmm. I love being in this place
it's a nice little place.
It's gorgeous. The food is incredible.
Everything is so historic. The oaks with the Spanish moss.
Yes. Beaufort was founded in 1711, over 300 years ago. So it's an old, super cool city with a cool downtown area.
If you want a cool story, look up Robert Smalls.
Yes, Robert Smalls. Look up Robert Smalls. There's literally a Robert Smalls Parkway here in Beaufort, and
great story.
There's a Robert Smalls international private school. That's he's just look him up.
It's pretty great. They also made a movie about him, I think.
Are they going to, or they?
I think they made I don't know if it got put in theaters or if they made it and was TV. I eventually want to find it because it looks pretty cool. Because I think they announced it years ago, but I haven't seen much of it since.
Yeah.
So I'll look through that.
Yeah.
See if I can find it.
We apologize for the audio on the last episode. We're still getting our audio sorted out in our studio setup at home. Becca literally spent 7 hours manually editing that episode.
I got so tired of my own voice.
We delayed our leaving for our vacation a full day because she had to.
I couldn't just leave it, and of course, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Still, but
yeah,
we eventually,
yes.
But we're gonna fix that. Yeah, someone just couldn't wait to get back in the same room. Just had to move on in there.
Yes,
we'll figure it out.
The lead up to our vacation, both of us were like scrambling. Like I stayed up until like 2 a.m. I think it was Friday or Saturday night, finishing paperwork from the previous week at my job. And we actually had some sponsored videos that we have obligations to that I was trying to, stay on the timeline with. Anyways, we were hustling, so we didn't
things I agree to, and then like when we go to do the things, I'm like, leave me alone.
That's right. That's exactly how it went. I'm glad you acknowledged that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're here, still on vacation and, pumping out another episode here. But
also this water, it's very frizzying. It is. And I have straight hair. Typically it's kind of wavy, I guess, but when it's wet, but it's I get out of the shower and the humidity here is insane. The humidity in Augusta is too, but here it's been 80, 85% humidity. Yes. So you just step out of the shower, it's so.
That's all right.
So
better. Okay.
Yeah, if I look like I'm fried, it's part nerves, part humidity.
Part of that's just the anxiety.
Because even vacation stuff gets me kind of anxious because it's new. You have to make sure you have everything, make sure the kid has everything. Because Camilla has ADHD, and I have ADHD too, and so it's
and I don't.
But I didn't forget her Invisalign this time.
We did.
I got that.
We went through it last time.
I usually do a whole list of bring this, bring this, bring this, bring this, bring this. And then I go through it before we leave and stuff.
Yeah.
Check the oven. You haven't used it in 2 days, but check it.
Right.
That's how it is. Oh, I painted my nails.
Yes.
I never get to paint my nails.
Yeah, tilt it up so people can see the glitter. It's like a glittery turquoise.
It's from Mooncat. It's called Poseidon's Prize. So I've always wanted to try one of their, because they have really pretty colors. But yeah, Mooncat I approve. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's not a sponsored video or anything. It's just, I enjoyed it. But
yes, not a sponsored post.
It's not. But no, the last time I had my nails done, people were probably like, "What are you talking about? You had your nails were painted." That was for a wedding, and we had them done, and that was a crazy experience because I don't really like my hands and feet touched.
No.
Then you have to pay to have your hands and feet touched, and it just sounds crazy to me. Which
if you explain it on paper to Becca, she'd be like, "Well, I don't want to do that."
well, I get why people do it. I understand there's people who like it, and
Sure.
I am totally for those businesses doing it because they got to make money too. So I'm like not anti get your nails done. I'm just for me, it's just
Sure.
so yeah.
So let's go to some comments from Spotify that you guys have left. Ioza says, or Iotza, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Forgive me.
I like that name.
They say, "Hey guys, UK listener here from Derbyshire in the East Midlands, that we all know from the writing of Jane Austen.
Not Derbyshire.
I just wanted to confirm Adam is correct about the pronunciation of Leicester.
There you go.
And the only reason I know is because of the Bleak House book and movie. Because what's the lady's name? She eventually passes away. Her husband is Sir Leicester.
Sir Leicester.
But I saw in the subtitles how it was spelled, and I was like, oh, so it's not Leicester or Leicester or whatever.
Leicester.
It's Leicester.
Yeah. Bleak House is the one where he's like, "Shake me up, Judy."
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Charles Dickens. He cracks me up.
There you go. That's a Charles Dickens book.
Charles Dickens.
Sasha is letting us know "coup" is German for cow.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and like coup is Gaelic for dog.
Ah, didn't know that.
So I think in Gaelic it's bo for cow. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like bovine, bo.
Oh,
like
is there a relation there? Okay.
There's something.
All right.
And then kitten is pishag. Don't ask me how I remember that one. There's like certain words I can remember and certain ones I can't.
Okay.
But that was just a fun word to say, pishag.
Okay. Sasha also says, "Did anyone see the documentary on the person who drowned all those people in the submarine, which was like a touristic submarine to the Titanic?" Yes. We just watched the documentary on that entire situation.
The Pops.
Oh, man. That surely wasn't a poison, but the dude seems to have a very poisonous mindset because it actually turns out he died because he wanted to be right so bad about the ship not malfunctioning. Reminds me of how some people promise you stuff that's going to be amazing, but kills you. That's also very often found in cult-like environments. Yes.
And MLMs.
Yes. Multi-level marketing schemes, pyramid schemes.
We're I think next week I'm going to talk about some pretty toxic mindsets on the bonus episode. Like we're going to get into some deep, heavy, where did things like eugenics and stuff come from and which philosophers were jerks. Spoiler, a lot of them were.
Thomas Paris says, "What is she selling? Bleach and bleach products?" I think he's referring to the influencer who is coming under fire for telling mothers of young children that bleach will cure their child of autism, drinking it. So yeah, she's selling like bleach-based products, and it's an absolute.
Oh, she could be selling like her own, like, come watch my teachings or books.
Of course.
I mean,
buy my course.
You have to be careful out there.
Yes. Jay says, "I like this kind of segment. Funnily enough, as soon as I heard Napoleon Bonaparte, I went, oh, arsenic in the wallpaper. Because I've been reading A is for Arsenic, The Poisons of Agatha Christie."
I think this person, maybe by a different name, messaged me on Instagram telling me that they had just gotten that book. Gotcha. And another book that I also have, beautifully illustrated book.
Gotcha.
So I hope they're enjoying that. Good book.
Yeah. Julia Franzoni, she says, "Hi guys, I'm a political scientist. And when we use the term revolution, one of the features we are implying is the use of violence. On another note, can you believe Napoleon played a big role in Brazilian history? Here we study the Napoleonic Wars for world and national history. Love the show. Thanks for the episode." Thank you so much, Julia. You know, it's funny. I kind of was assuming that you were Italian because of your last name, but now I see that you're actually Brazilian.
I think I read somewhere on the Patreon about her being not Italian.
Oh, I see. Yeah. There's some like Brazilian names that have they have like an Italian feel. but it may be
Mhm.
it's like the Portuguese and the Italians may have had some colonization efforts in South and Central America. I'm not sure.
There's a river I need to talk about in Brazil soon. I made a promise, so I'm going to keep it.
Hmm.
So
There you go. Story time. I escaped a religious cult 7 years ago. Without going into too much detail here, let me just say it was an extremely difficult journey. My mental health spiraled downhill, and I thankfully had enough presence of mind to seek out a therapist to work through what was going on with me. My therapist helped give me context to all the wild things I had walked away from. He was kind, patient, and guided me through what my new normal might look like. I had never had healthy boundaries in my life. Therapy helped show me that, as a result of being in a cult or a high control group, I had never fully become my own person. It's a shocking thing to learn at the age of 32. I learned how to communicate to the people around me what I was going to do, and more importantly, not do with my time, energy, and resources. BetterHelp is the sponsor of this episode, and they're on a mission to make starting therapy easier. BetterHelp is a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively and get the most out of therapy. There's a journal inside the platform for personal reflection, and there are group sessions on a number of different topics available every day. Starting therapy is easy with BetterHelp. Fill out a questionnaire, and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. One of the best features of BetterHelp is that if the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one until you find someone you really connect with. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. If you're struggling and think you'd benefit from a therapy session, go to betterhelp.com/almanac or choose the Poisoner's Almanac during sign up and get 10% off your first month of therapy. All right. That's going to take us into housekeeping. Housekeeping. Be sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. Thank you in advance for leaving 5-star reviews on your particular platform. Be sure to follow us on socials. We have links in the show notes where you can find our personal socials, but also the dedicated podcast, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube accounts where we post the video version of the podcast. We hope you guys are enjoying that. If you're listening on a mobile device, be sure to screenshot while you're listening and then post that to your socials and tag us. We would love to interact with you online. The Patreon is up and running. Let us know what kind of content you'd like to see on the Patreon. And like we've teased a couple of times, we are planning on adding another tier where it will include a private Discord and monthly live streams and watch parties.
I'm working on figuring out Discord and where to do live streams. It'll work because I realized, I was like, we have people too that are from different countries, so we're gonna have to ask, like, what's a good time?
Yes,
because
it may need to be, if we cannot accommodate all the different time zones involved, we would probably need a space where you could go watch an archived live stream in case you were not able to be there that time. So
got me thinking. So I'm doing a little research into that too.
Yeah. So, and there's also plans later on. We've only kicked this around, just spitballing here. Becca's first book may be made available to patrons at a certain tier.
Oh Lord, we're doing that? Okay. Oh yeah, I'm cool with it.
That's it's all preliminary. Becca's still looking for.
I guess I better get an editor.
The next step for Becca in her book publishing process is to get an editor. She's reached out to literary agents, but we're,
honestly, I just don't have the time or the focus, because with agents going that route, they all want something different. And you're trying to, like, okay, well, they want the synopsis here. They have their own form, or I want you to write it in this, or, and it is very difficult. And I spend a lot of my time on podcasts. So
yes, you do.
I have to kind of, So now I'm thinking about just, you know what, I'm just gonna find an editor and put this out myself, I think, because why not? So I can write the second one, because I'm I've just got so many ideas for the second one, and I haven't written part of it yet, and I'm a little mad about it. So
I'm sure you do. And I can't wait for the first one to come out and for you to, start work on the next one. Yeah. I see so many independent authors on TikTok, especially, who, like, I sent Becca a couple of posts from this one particular fantasy fiction author that she got like 5,000 pre-orders for her first book. And she has now connected with an entire group of like 7, 8, or 9 digital artists who are now building the world of her book. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an entire series, but she's connected with all these digital artists across the world who are now making art for this book. She's hired them.
And another good thing about having about publishing yourself is you do keep the ownership of all that.
You own everything. You own 100% of what happens. Yeah, it's a big deal.
I don't have to compromise any of my story.
Yes.
In the process.
That's right. Okay. So that's going to bring us to patrons, people who support the podcast on Patreon. Perks are available to you right now for $1 a month, $1 United States dollar per month. You get access to weekly bonus episodes. Mm-hmm. The option to leave us a voicemail that we play here on the podcast and react to. You also get shouted out on the podcast by name, and those people are as follows: 87 Pins Girl 71, Mara Santiago, Grace Lahan, Genevieve, Nahev Shatrit, Jay Wentz, Incan Hafner, Kiri Yorsek, Tay of Sunshine, Monique, Shane R, Sue Steves, James Mills, Megan Geiler, Liz B, Woolly Wolf NZ, Mama G, Nicole Rivers, Richard Miyako, Heather Nolan, Kaylee, Sasha Rubel, Maya Showstock, Maggie's Yarm, Ogre the Viking, Lynn Rocket, Brett Moser, Zaid, Neil Houdini, Nicole Crane, Jefferson Vargas, Carmen Q, Sarah G, Knitting Ninja, Estar, Olive Octopus, Betsy Rich, T-Bug, Christine Moljadi, Morgan Brittingham, Blau Frosch, a.k.a. Clara Jurisons, Vix, Anne Maria, Carl Ziegler Jr., Clyde, Jennifer Wilson Richter, Too Fidgety, Wendy G, Elena MK, Caitlin Martin, Pungrammed 101, Minna Snoda, SPT, Tasha Stewart Slattery, Simone Valdez, Christian Scradergaard, Maria Anna, Bonnie, Oma D, Rhinel Alara, Kristen Arnold, Aaron Carey, Lynn Simpson, Melissa Emmel, Desiree Davis, Jennifer Ramirez Johnson, Dalek Party, The Warped Witch, Sometimes Jules, Mr. Slave, Dizzy Dancer, Creative Otter, Yadmit, Supergirl Sway, Rachel, Anya Brandt, Ebby, Leah Marie Matson, Lady Digitalis, Jesse, Shay 10, Julia Franzoni, Sparks, Gloria Eichmann, Thomas Huff, From Strings to Things, Soy Kasumi, Jessica Gasparini, Robert Jr., Caitlin Inen, Ron Mack, Donna Lankanese, Lauren Smith, Anna G, Serpentine Fire, Melanie the SLP, Stuart Lee, Solstice, Chris Millanak, and please welcome our newest patrons, Mackenzie Kennedy and Libby. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast. And speaking of those voicemails, we have a voicemail from Melanie the SLP that is so sweet. Check this out. I'm going to play it into the microphone this time. We're not super high tech. Notice that was on your head.
Oh, yeah. There's my buddy.
Okay.
My newest buddy.
Let's check this out.
Hey, Becca and Adam. This is Melanie Regier, a.k.a. Melanie the SLP. Adam, you are correct. I am indeed a speech-language pathologist.
Yay!
I was super excited to hear my first shout-out and thought I'd leave you a voicemail to let you know how much I appreciate you both. I've already shared my story a bit with Becca on Instagram, but I thought I'd share it here too. My amazing son, Sullivan, was diagnosed with autism last year, just before he turned 5. I've worked with many autistic kids in my career, but I realized how little I actually knew about autism, so I set out to learn as much as I could. During my research, I stumbled across one of your reels, and I related so much to Becca and immediately felt less alone. I got my autism diagnosis 2 months ago, and it's been super nice to finally understand myself a little bit better. Becca, you have had such a positive impact on me and other neurodivergent people, and I just wanted to say thank you for being you. I hope you both have an amazing day, surrounded by lots and lots of plants. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Oh,
Oh,
that was so beautiful.
very kind.
Thank you, Melanie.
Also, hi, Sullivan. What a cool name.
Hello, Sullivan. That is a great name. Melanie, the way that you say the word out makes me think that you're Canadian.
And now I have roll out stuck in my head.
Of course you do.
It's strange.
Okay. So, my dear,
Mm-hmm.
that will bring us to today's subject matter. What are we talking about?
We are talking about, well, we need to talk about cosmetic surgery / plastic surgery.
Oh my God.
We need to talk about it. Because technically we need to talk about the dangers of not researching procedures, and especially providers and their credentials. Yes, such dangers can include disfigurement, pain, and death as a result of toxins, lack of experience, and incompetence, because there's a lot of scam artists out there.
Okay.
So, yeah. First, we're going to go over what cosmetic surgery is, a little bit of the history behind it, because, I do love some history, give you some context. Most of us know about the facelift surgeries, the breast augmentations, rhinoplasties, liposuction, BBLs, etc. Those things.
Yeah.
This area of expertise also includes things like Botox injections, filler injections, those kind of procedures. Dermatologists can do some of that too. Other trained medical professionals, they can get certified to do that as well. But just that I'm just putting that in line with this as well. So now cosmetic surgery technically started out as reconstructive surgery, which is still a thing, obviously. But cosmetic procedures sort of evolved off this branch of medicine. We now have evidence showing that reconstructive surgery goes back, and even plastic surgery goes back as far as 2000 BCE in places like ancient Egypt, Greece, and India.
That's real?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Now, evidence for skin grafting has been found as far back as 800 BC in India. I mean, there's been a lot of, obviously, advancement since then. But, but there's been like disfiguring illness and war and all kinds of stuff in the past as well. So they kind of learned their own ways of doing things.
I'm thinking of like lip filler in 2000 BC.
No, but they were using toxins for certain things. I mean, even in like Victorian or 1800 times into early 1900s, women were putting belladonna in their eyes to make them appear dilated. So I mean, I'm not calling that a procedure so much, but it is a cosmetic thing, and so.
Oh, I randomly remember the rendition of Snow White, and it was Julia Roberts as the evil queen, and Lily Collins was Snow White, and Armie Hammer was playing the prince. And Julia Roberts was actually the film actually shows Julia Roberts like plumping her lips by allowing them to be stung by bees.
I'm allergic, so that wouldn't go well for me. But I mean, okay. I do know that there's treatments. I don't know if they still do this, but there's treatments that involve stinging people with bees. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, as an analgesic.
Some sort of treatment. But now, in the 1700s, European doctors learned and brought back knowledge of such procedures from Eastern countries to practice in Europe. In 1817, the first cleft palate surgery was performed in the U.S. by John Peter Mettauer. That's how you say it. In 1838, the term plastic surgery is coined by Edward Zeiss. Then in 1890, we see the first tummy tuck. That could not have been fun in 1890. That sounds pretty terrifying, to be honest.
Holy cow.
Now, in 1917, we have the first dedicated plastic surgery center to help soldiers with facial injuries following World War I. So you've got like reconstructive plastic surgery, that kind of thing going on here.
It's like modern warfare sped up the science of plastic surgery.
Yeah, well, because, also with World War I, you've got trench warfare meets tanks,
sure,
right?
explosives.
So it's like, and then chemical warfare as well coming in.
Yes,
it was a mess.
Yeah.
War is often a mess, though.
War makes so many people so much money.
And yeah, it's terrible. But this center was established by a Sir Harold Gillies. The first formal training program for plastic surgery was created at Johns Hopkins University in 1924. And between 1930 and 1940, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons was founded, as was the American Board of Plastic Surgery, in order to regulate the advancement of the practice. As you can imagine, you don't need people just trying stuff, right? Like, just sort of Frankensteining people that are already that are alive, but not. You get what I'm saying?
Right. And just a side note, like the formation of a regulatory body is part of like how you. It's a big part of how you regulate some sort of industry or medical practice, because if the regulatory board doesn't exist, you can't exactly take anybody to court because there's no established standards of practice. So
yeah, when you look back to some of the things we've talked about, like even with the Radiant Girls, right? Like they had to fight to prove that radium was
bad.
So then we have, in 1942, there is use of plastic and reconstructive surgery to help injury victims of World War II, of course, including burn injuries. In 1962, a woman in Texas became the first person to receive silicone breast implants. Texas, that makes sense. Sorry. I'm just shading Texas a little bit. I'm sorry.
1962.
1962.
Okay.
Now, this procedure was actually experimented with in Japanese brothels back in 1942, however. I don't have all the details on that.
Okay.
But experimented with. The father of modern plastic surgery is considered to be Barastad Kazanjian. He was an Armenian American oral surgeon, Harvard alum, who co-wrote the first concise book on plastic surgery. Or co-wrote, basically. Wow. Did I say co-wrote? Co-wrote. He co-wrote that book. Now, during the First World War, he actually volunteered with the Harvard Medical Corps. He was stationed in France to help soldiers who had been in trench warfare combat, had seen some awful injuries, including oral, mandibular, like the jaw, maxillary, just skull, orbital, just all sorts of deforming injuries from bullets, grenades, etc.
Yeah.
His reputation grew as he skillfully and cautiously repaired such wounds, and he did his best to make these men look normal again. He was a very compassionate man.
Yeah, it's such a mercy to these people to be able to help them recover normalcy after a gruesome injury.
And they're going to have a lot of trauma to work through already. Now, he later became the professor of clinical oral surgery between 1922 and 1941 at Harvard, then later the first ever professor of plastic surgery.
Wow.
So there's a little history for you concerning the topic of plastic or cosmetic surgery, as well as reconstructive surgery. Obviously, plastic surgery does have its own sort of branch that may overlap with reconstructive surgery from time to time, but also that is a side that is strictly cosmetic. So it's expensive, and like all procedures, it has certain risks depending on what you're having done. So the most dangerous / deadly procedure currently, I'm sure something new will come on the scene eventually, but is the BBL, the Brazilian butt lift. You know what this is? You've heard of Brazilian butt lift?
I have heard of this.
Okay. This is where fat is taken from one part of your body, such as the abdomen, the hips, or thighs usually, and it's injected into, your butt. Okay.
As the name implies.
Yeah. It's pretty self-explanatory. And this is done by a professional. The fat is removed, it's purified, and then it's injected in the wanted area. Now, this is supposed to give the person a rounder, firmer behind. This is done under general anesthesia, usually, but smaller operations can be done using local anesthesia. This is considered the more dangerous of cosmetic procedures because of the risk of fat embolism, resulting in serious complications and death. It has been the cosmetic surgery with the highest mortality rate for a while now. Apparently, the most deaths from this procedure were seen in South Florida.
Yeah.
As of a report in 2022. Do you know where the most, last time I heard at least, where the state with the most cosmetic procedures done is? Take a guess.
Georgia.
Nope.
Okay. California.
Nope.
South Dakota.
No.
Montana.
Nope. You're close though.
Idaho.
No.
Wyoming.
No.
Colorado.
I think you're close. I'm not very good at geography.
I'm totally relying on you to tell me you're getting
It's
close.
out there. It's out there.
New Mexico.
Close.
Arizona.
No, it's
Nevada.
up.
Oregon. Washington.
No. It's just that way.
Montana. North Dakota.
To the,
Kansas. Oklahoma. Texas. Missouri. Utah.
yes. It's Utah. I'm over here like, go this way, go down. Wait,
Wait.
do I know this?
Is this, I can't help but think this is somehow connected to the world we see falsely depicted in The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I feel like there's some sort of connection between the absurdity that is that trash can of a show and the actual statistics for plastic surgery. What's going on?
No, you don't. Like, here's the thing though. You're supposed to watch that show and it's kind of like a train wreck. You're supposed to be like,
I can't look away.
yeah, it's kind of like a, oh my God, what is happening sort of situation. So anyway, but yeah, Utah. Sorry, my geography of the states in America is not great apart from the South, California, Texas, New York.
Okay.
I know where Canada is.
Oh, good.
I know where other places in the world are. It's just the Midwest parts of America. I get confused because they're all blocky.
It is superfluous information to you for the most part.
Yeah.
That's why you don't store it very well.
Yeah. I'm not going out there anytime soon.
You're not. And also, I must say, anytime I say the word Utah, I'm immediately thinking of Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in Point Break when Patrick Swayze calls Keanu Reeves, Utah. Johnny Utah.
I know where Oklahoma is because I was obsessed with tornadoes for a long time, and like that's kind of right there where Tornado Alley is.
Yes.
Okay. But
Okay.
yeah, Utah.
I'm glad we had this talk.
Anyway, so this procedure actually became big because of certain celebrities promoting that whole large chest, tiny waist, and large butt sort of figure. It's kind of really more cartoonish than normal, honestly.
It's the Kardashian figure.
Okay, I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to say names, okay?
Well, we all know who we're talking about.
Basically, the whole idea of beauty standards is kind of strange to me. Maybe it's part of the neurodivergent stuff in me. I mean, I tend to not recognize faces easily anyway. And I tend to value knowledge and understanding, especially like of why us humans do what we do, like figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like makeup is fun and artsy.
Right. But the mystery of built-in social norms.
It's a weird, that's
right.
I've been trying to solve it since childhood. Haven't gotten there yet. But hair color, I find that fun. But these are like things one does because they want to do it, right? Like I want to do that because it looks cool and fun. And I want to see myself like that. Right.
Okay. So the built-in social norms or standards of beauty don't naturally make sense to Becca. And then here Becca is, this gorgeous Scandinavian shining example of what God can make. Ex-model as a teenager. And she doesn't care or understand any of it.
That was something I got
the height of irony.
Also, I've never been to Scandinavia. It's just written on the DNA form. Maybe one day.
We're going.
Anyway, so yeah, beauty standards. Yeah, I mean, I suppose such things may also be influenced. You know, I mean, like in the 90s, it was popular to have like super thin eyebrows.
Yes.
Right? It's super popular. And now the opposite is true. So those who like overplucked them in the 90s can't grow them now. I was too lazy myself to do that. I was just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't feel like doing that. So I don't know. Maybe I do understand it to a point. I mean, like I've often copied others to appear more normal or avoid being seen as abnormal or rude. Maybe we're all just sort of masking to some extent, you know, in a way.
Yep.
But Yeah, I think being a teenager is especially hard because no matter what you do, something about you is wrong. You're not wearing the right clothes. You aren't, you're not a baby anymore. And why are you acting that way now? Mom's upset because you're not her baby anymore. You're a kid still, but not really. It's like, what the heck are you? And what are you going to be? Also, you better figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life right now, or it's going to suck.
You're just processing a bunch of your own stuff.
And if we have any teenagers listening, or 20 somethings, because that can extend to that age too. I mean, I'm pretty sure I felt like a failure most of my 20s or half of my 20s. The first half of my 20s, I was just like, I don't know.
It was probably the tism.
It's a rough age too. I mean,
yep.
But I think you don't have to do any of that right now. In that moment, just breathe and be whoever you are, and enjoy some silence. I mean, I'm talking at the moment, I guess. But just know that I see you, and things do get better. It won't feel like it, and you may be like, oh, it's easy for you to say, but it's not actually. I remember also not believing things would get better. I was in survival mode for a long time.
Yeah.
Made a lot of mistakes, had some really unhealthy coping mechanisms, still kind of do. But I finally found myself.
You know what? I still do that stuff.
I found myself though, and I was like, what do we really want? We as in the royal we,
Yes.
What do we really want?
Yes.
What makes us happy? Now, if you have psychopathic tendencies, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe try a different route for that. I'm just gonna anyway. Beauty standards.
What a pivot.
Beauty standards are so weird. Yeah, lips should be this big, cheeks this big, eyes at this angle, nose this straight. I used to hate my nose growing up, believe it or not. I always felt like it didn't fit my face, and then I grew up, and I'm like, oh, it's because I hadn't grown up yet, and my face was still a kid's face, right?
Yeah. I had an unsettlingly. I still have the size of my head. It's large. If you put this head on the body of a 10-year-old boy, it's unsettling. It was. And I got made fun of for that. And when I graduated high school,
you were really skinny too, though. You were scrawny.
Yes, I may have been 125 pounds when I was 18 years old.
So you kind of like one of those lollipops.
Yes, I did. I really did. It was an awkward stage. And then, just a few years after high school, I start looking much more normal because I'm actually putting on weight and, physically maturing and all that stuff. So it was a phase, but it wasn't fun to go through.
I think most of us have had those awkward phases.
Sure.
When I was 15, I looked 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You've told our listeners before, like when you were working as a nurse in the hospital, people would say, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Yeah. Oh, were you the volunteer?
No.
I didn't know they could get volunteers here. And,
yeah.
And even when they knew my age, good job, little girl.
Yeah. Candy striper.
Anyway. Yeah. Even skin tone has been a subject of beauty standards. I think I've mentioned how women used to poison themselves taking arsenic wafers to appear more pale.
Yep.
Makes no sense. I'm pale because I'm terrified of the sun and genetics, I guess.
Scandinavian.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of, I blind people. Sometimes the sun comes out, it's like, I actually got made fun of at school for being as pale as I am because tan was in then. It was like, tan back then.
I remember that.
But we know how I feel about the sun. So I know adults then that would literally risk death, like unsafe diets, do-it-yourself fixes, tanning beds, cancer, to look perfect. And then the standard would change because it always does. And now that social media is so big, it's probably going to make things worse. So just be careful out there. And of course, all these, doctored, filtered images promoting perfection, which by the way, doesn't exist.
It doesn't. And AI is also generating quite a bit of social media content that is not real also.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been a lot out there. I mean, it's been going on with being able to I don't even know how to edit pictures or to filter stuff. That looks like too much work.
It's too much work.
It's too much work. But yeah, it's been a thing for a while. And you see a lot of the influencers, celebrities, they're good at it, I guess.
They have teams and teams of people who edit all of their things.
Is it Kris Jenner, the mom? She had that picture with, who's the chef? The chef that like, he's really great with kids, but he yells at adults.
Gordon.
Ramsay, yeah, he's funny. Makes me laugh so much. But she took a picture with him, and she like edited both their faces so much that it looked so awkward on him, right? And he posted the real image later without anything on it. It was kind of great.
I never knew that. I'm going to go look that up.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
It was kind of crazy. So you could do insane things to pictures. But yeah, so cosmetic surgery then it's likely to always be with us in some way because it seems that beauty standards always will as well. And if someone wants to change something about themselves and they've really thought about it, and this is for them, or even especially for their health, women get breast reductions all the time because of pain, and such, and not because of standards. And I have no problem with that. Do what you want.
Yep.
Even if you want to fit the standards out there, it's your body, it's your choice.
Yeah, but I've actually seen a big increase in the amount of women who are getting reduction for, orthopedic reasons.
Because
it reducing the amount of
painful
weight on your upper spine and your lower back over time, you feel better. Yeah.
And also, pregnancy does things to your body that it's okay to want fixed.
It's true.
I'm gonna say that. My main thing really is just I want to caution people that some procedures are permanent. Some come with heavy risks, and the recovery time is not easy for most of these procedures. But mainly, there's a lot of scams and fraudsters out there posing as doctors and practitioners, and we really want to talk about it. I think what came in not too long ago that is a permanent procedure was the removal of the buccal fat. You've seen that? And it's like, just wait till you get older. Like that's gonna,
Sure.
you know what I mean? You're gonna lose that as you get older anyway. And if you do it when you're young, you're gonna look older before your time. It's like this new trend, but I'm like, trend, like that could go away and you can't put that back. I mean, they're just gonna put fillers in the whole time. I don't know. It just seems, doesn't seem worth it. So, I get it if someone's face it's like they have a really rounded face, and so it really doesn't make so much of a difference that makes them look vampiric, I should say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they already have a really skinny, long face, it makes them look gaunt. But people with certain face shapes get it, and it doesn't look that way, right? It just depends on the face shape. So let's stop talking about beauty standards and how that makes me feel, and get on with those posing as doctors, because that's the real problem. I mentioned the BBL being the most deadly cosmetic procedure currently, and how South Florida was especially rife with deaths as a result of this procedure, at least in comparison to the rest of the U.S. According to the NIH, South Florida has experienced 25 BBL-related fat emboli deaths between 2010 and 2022. However, 14 of these occurred after publication of the Aesthetic Surgery Education and Research Foundation's 2018 guidelines and the 2019 Florida Board of Medicine's BBL subcutaneous only rule. Okay. So this, the working environment at the clinics and the short surgical times for these cases may be the most important contributors to the BBL mortality in South Florida. Before this subcutaneous rule, this basically means only injecting into the fatty tissue, not going deeper into like the musculature and beyond. Like this should only be
done. That's what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before this rule, fat was being transferred in many cases to deeper parts of the area, whether into the muscle or further past it. These are areas that are more vascular, and so they present a higher risk of hitting a patient's blood vessel. And this was happening a lot due to the high volume of patients wanting larger and longer lasting results. Also, BBLs do not last forever. That's.
Oh, I didn't know that was temporary.
Yeah, it's not gonna. It'll last a little while, but it's not gonna last forever.
So you have to have it redone if you want to maintain the aesthetic.
I mean, not like within a year, but like down the road. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Or your body changes over time too. Yeah. So,
How dare you?
it's just, So
We don't say his name.
now, I'm convinced that procedures such as these become just addictive to some. If you don't struggle with body dysmorphia beforehand, you might develop it after a few tweaks here and there. And
Sure.
honestly, there should be screening and counseling for such beforehand, in my opinion, because body dysmorphia is very difficult to deal with, and cosmetic surgery is not really a fix because you will just keep finding something wrong and needing more, and it's it's not a fix.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there is no safe zone for injecting fat into the body like that, risk-free. Even if it is subcutaneous, there's still a risk. It's just not as high as, say, putting it further into like where the muscle is. So
is this the risk of this procedure? Is this the reason for the explosion of glute workouts, like on social media?
I mean, it could
like
be.
there are entire like Instagram
it's that
accounts
beauty
and
standard.
stuff.
It's that
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that. They want that look, but they don't want to do a very risky procedure, so they'll do it the natural way, quote unquote. And their entire account, I'm gonna tell you know, hundreds of thousands of followers. It's all about working out your backside, nothing else.
Well, I mean, what they do. So, would you rather them get the procedure?
I'd rather they not get the procedure. It's just funny. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, they're doing it the better way.
It's true.
So, and you know what? Those muscles.
I mean, you're working out. You're probably much healthier than you would be otherwise. There are definitely some positives, but it's still like, it's like
for the like aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like neurosis light.
Well, it's because of that beauty standard. And I mean, if they're doing it to get like followers and people doing it with them, then they're teaching this group of people how to get that particular look.
Totally. Yeah, there's an industry associated with it, you know.
So For the record, other complications found to be fatal, but more rarely so during BBL can include cardiac events, as with any surgery. Pulmonary emboli. Now this is going to be whether it's a fat embolism or air embolism or clot sort of deal. Severe anemia, intestinal perforation. You've got to be going in. Oh, I guess I'm you know what? Not from behind. They're taking it out of the abdomen at this point. Right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of like the part when they're putting it back in. I'm like, what?
No, get a different surgeon.
This is when they're taking the fat out to purify it and then put it back in.
There you go.
I'm thinking like we're at the latter part of the surgery already. Anyway, and sepsis, which we all know. Not a fun time.
That's right.
Now, one particular consideration I want to make here is that not all of those who have died while having or after having a BBL procedure were being operated on and or treated by those that were not board certified as plastic surgeons. Okay, so there's been some who've tried to do this procedure without credentials or qualifications, but there have also this has also been going on in cases where they did have the credentials. An article on deaths from BBL procedures in South Florida stated, we noted that between 2010 and 2022, 9 physicians who were not AVPS, American Board of Plastic Surgery, board certified, that these had a documented BBL PFE death. So this is like fat embolism from BBL surgery. They do also mention that 17 deaths were documented by those who were board certified. So what's the common denominator in this specific?
It's a risky procedure.
It is a risky procedure. I mean, apart from the fact that it is a risky procedure.
Right.
It's likely due to the fact that 92% of these deaths in South Florida occurred in what are called high-volume budget clinics.
Oh.
Mostly owned and operated by businessmen, often with criminal records.
Okay.
So.
And in South Florida, what do you think the criminal records have to do with? Drugs.
I was like, Disney?
No.
When I think of Florida, I'm like, Disney.
No. South Florida is drug traffic central.
Yeah, there's other things too. Violence, gang activity.
Mhm.
As a lot. But I mean, we've all heard of Florida Man. There's some
That's a good
crazy
point.
stuff that happens in
Maybe,
Florida. Okay?
you know what? Maybe it's just Florida.
Yeah, I mean Florida. We live above Florida, so yeah, I'm gonna take some dives at it.
Yeah, we're not,
We're neighbors. So those looking for such procedures often get online to find a good price, since these are elective surgeries, meaning health insurance is likely not going to pay a dime. And these can range in the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. These budget clinics advertise their services at lower prices while promising fast and easy results. Kind of a red flag there. So the article on this matter that I found explained, at the time of this writing, a Google search for BBL price Miami reveals high volume budget clinics offering the procedure for only $2,900 US. I want to say this was in 2022, this article.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to remain profitable at this price point is for a clinic to perform as many procedures as possible, as quickly as possible, and to minimize patient interaction, which is never good.
It's the favorite part.
Whether you're board certified or not. Some of the physicians in these clinics are found to be board certified plastic surgeons, and some are not. They may be physicians, but not plastic surgeons.
Oh my God.
So
you should have your license pulled for that. That's crazy.
Yeah. One stated in a deposition that he had a slight independent recollection of his patient who died from a BBL, fat embolism, that he did not participate in the preoperative history and physical, did not review the surgical procedure, and was not involved in preoperative or postoperative teaching, consent, or overview. He also testified that the first time he met the patient was the day of surgery, shortly before the procedure began.
Oh my God.
That's not okay.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. It is also not uncommon for surgeons in these clinics to schedule 8 or 10 BBL procedures in one day. A recent expose on these clinics by National Geographic revealed that the surgeon of record runs several operating rooms simultaneously, with the surgical assistants performing significant critical portions of the surgeries. So the assistants are doing things they probably shouldn't be doing.
Mm-mm.
Now, as the NIH states, it is not protective to the patient if the surgeon is board certified, if the clinic's business model does not permit the surgeon to perform all critical parts of the surgery or to interact and care for the patient preoperatively and postoperatively.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if he's board certified to do what he's doing if he's not interacting with the patient. Like, he's not doing his job in full, right? So what happens to these doctors when someone dies of a procedure like this? Why is this kind of thing still happening? Those that are board certified to do these kinds of procedures in this situation will face investigation and some discipline after a death, likely only being made to establish future goals to do better, or not being allowed to perform that particular procedure again, like as a restriction on his medical license. So it's kind of a,
I'm shocked by that.
Now, I imagine if they have enough deaths on there, it's going to be a little more, but yeah.
That's not going to be an effective deterrent.
And I imagine it depends on the state and various.
There can be some differences state to state, but even so, it just doesn't seem like it's going to actually protect people.
Yeah. Those that are not board certified usually have their medical license revoked. Like if they are a physician, but they're not board certified plastic surgeons and they're doing this kind of thing. But what is this compared to a life or lives lost because you did something you were not trained or certified to do? If the clinic gets bad reviews or press regarding care or deaths, they can simply change their name, change locations, carry on, keep doing what they're doing. What's more is that in 2022, an emergency rule was put into effect in South Florida that required surgeons performing this procedure to utilize ultrasound technology to see where fat injection was taking place so that they could avoid fat injection into a blood vessel, because you can see where you're. But for some reason, a lot of people find that
tedious.
Yeah. They don't want to do that.
You got to love America. I love us.
So at this point in this location, at least, a time-stamped and dated ultrasound video must be kept in the patient's medical chart for documentation to prove that, they're doing this. Furthermore, this rule also restricted BBLs to 3 performed a day and no more, right? I mean, you've got these doctors, they're going to get tired. They're going to make slip-ups. They don't even know these patients' histories. They're treating these patients like
cattle.
Yeah, like just whatever. And they're just,
that's right. Just processing another cow.
It's rough. Yeah. So at least one clinic and its surgeons decided to sue the Florida Department of Health, stating it is a restriction of their trade. So
I have to, if I'm a medical malpractice attorney in South Florida, I am salivating because I know if you just go by the Surgeon General of Florida, it's not going to be that hard to win a case.
Yeah. At this point in time.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
I'm just putting my thinking cap on.
I think it's funny. I showed you at Books A Million, like they had a section on true crime, and right next to it said current affairs. That was the next section over.
What's the difference?
I thought that was funny. I just thought it was funny, So yeah, but there are also scammers and frauds pretending to be plastic surgeons or physicians of some specialty that literally have no training whatsoever and are literally out here just experimenting on people or injecting them with industrial style chemicals that can lead to deformity and death in some cases. And I know people are like, but that's illegal. It is illegal, but they find ways to do it and they don't get caught until someone dies sometimes.
Right. And so there's another element of just organized crime. This sounds like, I mean, if this were happening somewhere else in the world, I mean, the litigation would have squashed this any other place. But I think the drug trade and associated, streams of crime and, dirty money, revenue, all that stuff, they're keeping this stuff going. And they look at any sort of sanction by the regulating agencies or bodies as a blip on the radar. We're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, most of these people are just independent people who get on social media and they're like, hey, hit me up. I do this, this, and this, $800 a procedure. And people won't look to see if they have credentials online.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't go and research it. And so that's typically what happens and what we're going to talk about too, because there's a few cases we're going to discuss. Yep. Now, some may advertise procedures that invite people to their house, which is a big red flag. Some other non-clinical setting to perform them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Others may have clinics but are not certified to do what they're doing and may call their services spa treatments or facial or aesthetic therapy or whatever else like that.
Okay.
Now, there are actual estheticians out there. That is a thing. And they can be certified in certain procedures such as laser treatments, lash extensions, chemical peels, depending on where, like the state they live in, the country they live in, that kind of thing. It's different depending on where you live. And I'm sure there are scammers in this area as well, but they're their own thing. They may run their own sort of spas. These are not the ones I'm talking about. I mean the Dean Fialos and the Dustin David Moores out there. And I'm going to explain who they are. Dean Fialos was originally from New Jersey. He was actually voted most likely to succeed in high school by his classmates.
Okay.
Those ridiculous superlatives. Does anybody else do that outside the U.S.? Is that just a U.S. thing?
I don't know. Great question.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was just a U.S. thing. Most likely to blah, blah, blah. It was like a popularity thing, basically, in our high school. We had stupid ones like prettiest eyes, most attractive.
Which you didn't understand. Like you were like, but why? Why would you say that?
Also, is that going to make other people feel like crap?
Yes, the superlatives can degenerate. Okay, this is a true story. One of my high school yearbooks, they did superlatives, and one of the superlatives was most likely to be single forever. They took the pictures of these two kids.
I would have won.
And it got published in the yearbook. That's 100% true.
I would have won that just based on me not wanting to be around people much, I guess.
Possibly.
And I proved it wrong, even though I didn't win.
Here you are.
Anyway, yeah, we didn't have that. We did have some weird ones though. I do remember.
Mhm.
It's strange. We live in a strange culture.
Yes.
Anyway, this guy did go to Rensselaer, probably said that wrong, Polytechnic Institute in New York, but he did not finish. He later worked in construction and then at a day spa in New York, where he practiced hair removal. He then started his own spa called Skinovations, specializing in facials, skincare, and laser treatments for the removal of hair, tattoos, blood vessels, and scars.
Whoa.
We'll come back to this in just a minute because,
Blood vessels.
yeah, laser treatments he is not qualified to be doing
Mhm.
whatsoever, but we'll come back to that in a minute. He started facing trouble in 1998 when he was charged with possession of a controlled substance, forgery, and possession of a forged instrument, basically forged documents and such. This is before he started his laser treatment spa thing. Okay.
Mhm.
He had been sharing an office space, not practice, just space, with dermatologist Dr. Lori Polis. And she thought well of him, and she knew he had done electrolysis, which is like hair removal via electricity. So he had done that at the spa he'd worked at or whatever before.
Yeah.
And he had expressed his interest in laser hair removal, which would require licensure he did not have to do so in the state of New York. Okay. Anyway, he left after several months, telling Dr. Polis that he was dying of AIDS and wanted to move to Florida so he could live out his remaining days there. And she was like, okay, nice knowing you. Sorry you're dying, I guess.
My God.
She believed him. And he was not, he did not have AIDS. And he did not go to Florida. Also, what a terrible lie.
That's awful.
But she believed him until she later saw his advertisement for his certified laserist services. And she knew, one, he's still in New York. And two, he was practicing this service without a license.
Mm-hmm.
She also got a call sometime later from an insurance company asking why she was prescribing so many doses of Stadol, which is this narcotic like morphine, but like I think in a nasal spray form in some cases.
Oh, okay.
So like he was, yeah. And it turned out that Fialos had stolen some prescription pads from Dr. Polis and was prescribing himself this drug and forging her signature.
Oh my God.
So this is where he got in trouble, like in 1998. He was eventually sentenced to 3 years probation and court-mandated drug rehab on these charges, but it didn't seem to scare him away from such activities because he was still listing his dermatological services online and listing his qualifications as having a Master's of Science from that Polytechnic Institute that he quit. So that was a lie. He had never graduated at all from there or anywhere else. But he also listed a certification for electrology, which had actually lapsed by that time in 1998. And he had never done any sort of continuing education or anything to keep that up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the process of using electrolysis to remove hair.
Yeah.
So that was what he was telling people, when in fact he had no degree and a lapsed electrolysis certification, probably from when he worked at that other spa. Now, in October of 2002, Dean Fialos was arrested on 3 counts of practicing medicine without a license, but he was released on bail. He was bailed out by his then boyfriend. We're going to come back to him in a minute.
Oh, no.
Um,
He's taking somebody down with him.
We're going to come back to him in a minute.
Okay. I'm excited. Plot thickens.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Now, this was only on the terms that he stopped doing that, practicing medicine without a license.
Okay.
Which he wasn't supposed to be doing anyway.
But, and I'm just going to assume here, he kept on doing it.
Yeah, he didn't stop. But now he was just going to start treating people at a friend's apartment. Next year, in 2003, I graduated in 2003 from high school. So, go Muskies. Musketeers. People are like, what the heck is a muskie? Musketeers. We were the Musketeers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Purple and gold. Okay, so yeah, the next year, 2003, in April, he had an appointment with a woman named Maria Cruz to have some scarring and or dark spots removed. She had some dark spots, I think, on her tongue that needed removing too. And this can apparently happen in rare cases with antibiotics. So
Okay.
usually tetracyclines, I think. I watched a video on this case. I think it was a James Welsh video. And he had read the mark was from antibiotics, which is, yeah. And I love watching Jane Welsh's videos on YouTube because he discusses skincare, does reactions to short videos, sometimes a bit of crime, a bit of drama. And he's just really well spoken, great at making videos and stuff. He's got a twin brother too named Robert Welsh that does content with makeup, I believe. Anyway,
they're twins. They're identical twins.
They're twins, yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. They could do each other's videos and nobody would know.
I mean, apart from like, I don't know, like I can tell the difference because they talk different and they talk about different things. They have done videos together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, good for them.
I enjoy watching them. They're fun.
That is cool.
So Maria comes in for her appointment April 13th, 2003, and she was never seen alive again by those who knew her. Maria Cruz was described by family and friends as friendly, intelligent, successful. She was a 35-year-old Filipino-American investment banker. She was a devout Catholic. She graduated from Fordham University with honors, but she was very smart, very nice woman, very successful woman. She was a woman of routine, and I get that. When she missed work the next day at Barclays Capital, it was a red flag, and everyone was immediately suspicious. They're like, this is not like her at all.
Yeah.
A few days later, she was supposed to meet her brother and some other relatives at the airport because they were arriving from the Philippines for a visit.
Oh.
She never showed, and her uncle filed a missing persons report. Her apartment was looked at. It was clean. There had been like newspapers piling up though, so they knew she hadn't been there.
Yeah.
She was last seen at Mass, actually. So options were at this point to put up flyers, ask around at her apartment and nearby, check the cameras outside the apartment, which came in handy, honestly, because this showed her leaving her apartment the morning of Sunday, April 13th, but never showed her coming back. So they know something happened between then and then, right?
Yeah.
Now, looking at her bank records, investigators found that she had withdrawn $400 at an ATM in Lower Manhattan, and when that camera was checked, she was alone when she did that. So her relatives had to go back to the Philippines after a while. There were no leads for a while until investigators were able to access her emails.
Can you imagine? Like you have a relative you've flown to a different country to visit and they are missing and then you have to leave.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'd call the job back home and be like, sorry, sister's missing.
Yeah. And there's some really good pics that honestly would go with this case.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glisten.
That's what they call a call to action in the biz. Oh man.
So at least she's using that camera. But her dad and mom live in the Philippines still. There's like a picture of them with her, like framed picture of when she was younger. It was just really sad. So but yeah, her family was very involved with trying to look for her, trying to find her. So they were able to get into her emails finally. They found that she had made an appointment with a dermatologist named Dean Fiello in Lower Manhattan. In the email, Cruz was instructed to bring $400 so that syringes and lidocaine could be acquired. So this already sounds pretty shady. Big red flags. Now, in June of 2003, Fiello was supposed to attend a court hearing related to previous charges of practicing without a license, and he failed to show up. At this point, those looking into the disappearance of Maria Cruz were focused on him and his criminal past. I mean, of course, it was soon discovered that he had used his passport to run off to Costa Rica.
Okay.
Then we're coming back to the boyfriend, now the ex-boyfriend, Greg Bach.
Wait. You're telling me that Fiello was not able to sustain a loving relationship with another person?
But this man did his best for Fiello's because he really did. And he seems like a very good person. Yeah. And it really sucks what Fiello's did to him too. So he bailed him out before, like I mentioned. He'd been super supportive of him for so long. He called up police to let them know some stuff, right? Because he's like, okay, I've been screwed. And
If y'all thirsty, I got some tea.
I've heard some stuff going on. I wonder if it's related. And so, yeah, he didn't know about Maria Cruz. He didn't know about any of that.
Yep.
So he knew that that dude had an appointment with somebody, but he didn't know what happened after that. So, but we're going to get to those details in a moment. But so he calls them up and he told them that Bielo had relapsed on drug use and that he owed a lot of money to a lot of people, including to him. He owed him like $82,000 at this point. He had like,
oh my God,
really tried to help him out. He owed on his mortgage and just everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bach did not know about the missing woman, but he had heard some disturbing reports from friends that one of Fielo's patients had suffered some complications. Like Fielo had called some friends, and then I guess these friends talked to Greg Bach, the guy that's talking to him.
Mutual friends.
Yeah. So it was later told to him and other friends that everything was fine though, because he had taken this patient to a hospital and she was good. So he had, told them this. Then he up and just left Bach, left everything, not paying him back, just leaving.
Yeah.
So Bach was done. He was like, you know what? Okay. Well, once he learned about this missing woman, Bach told investigators that before leaving, Fialo had done some sort of cement project.
Oh no.
In the garage of his New Jersey home, which was going to be sold. Likely because he really couldn't keep up with the mortgage. He was behind on everything. And there had been complaints at the time of a horrible smell coming from the area. The home was actually sold, like I said, soon after this project was complete. A search warrant was granted by February of 2004. Now, this is like, it feels like this is taking a long time, obviously, because there's so much legal stuff that you have to get past and everything.
Yeah.
And investigators brought cadaver dogs to search. Once the dogs brought them to a certain spot inside the garage, they used picks and shovels to dig up the area, and they found Maria Cruz's body wrapped in plastic. Of course, the next step was to get Fielos to, who was out in Costa Rica. So that's what investigators went to do. However, the hotel manager where he was staying out there apparently thought well of him and helped him get an attorney while he was detained in jail there before his ride back to the States. And this is where it gets a little weird. I mean, it's already kind of weird, but this attorney had this crazy idea that if they could get this couple that he knew, who was younger than Fielos, to adopt Fielos, who was 40-ish at this time, then they wouldn't be able to extradite him because he would be a citizen, right?
This guy's he's one of the dark triad personalities. Narcissistic, psychopathic, coercive control. I'm pretty sure of it. He's constantly able to get people on his side. Then he burns those people and he finds more people. His goal is simply his own survival. That's it.
And he could be also, I mean, he's back on drugs and stuff too. Mm-hmm. Now, Fielos was, like I said, he was like 40 at this time. Anyway, a judge did not allow it after a solid year of legal delays. He was brought back to be officially charged with Maria Cruz's murder. Yeah. So what actually happened? Well, in order to make a plea deal, Fielos agreed to be open about what happened, and his story does seem to line up. He says that Maria Cruz did come to that appointment to have a procedure to remove a dark spot on her tongue. I think there were some other things they were going to do too. He reportedly had seen her at his former clinic like 10 to 15 times before for various different things. Now, one important fact that he never mentioned to her or anyone else was that he was not licensed to perform such laser procedures. He had planned to use lidocaine to numb the area of her tongue, but he gave her way too much. Way too much.
Yeah.
Now, lidocaine can be both neurotoxic and cardiotoxic. And while useful as a local anesthetic, it can be deadly in high enough amounts, like, anything, but it's. Now, the typical limit dose is 4.5 milligrams per kilogram. This is without the use of vasoconstrictors that would be there to slow absorption. Like higher doses have been used, but in a hospital setting where there are those kinds of medications being used.
Mhm.
And Fialos, he gave Maria Cruz multiple vials.
Oh dear.
Vials of lidocaine differ based on concentration and amount. I mean, I don't know that he ever gave the exact amount, or I couldn't find that information. But these, for instance, a 1% solution, which is typical for local anesthesia for adults, the smallest concentration is like 0.5%, but 1% is like kind of typical. One vial of this would be equal to 10 milligrams per milliliters of solution, and the vial may contain like 30 mils of solution. So even just one vial, which would have been 300 milligrams in this case, would have been more than enough to kill her. For adults, the dose should not be over 200 milligrams or 20 mils of 1% solution, and even that is a lot. Obviously, if the concentration is higher, like it's a 2% solution, the upper limit is around 10 mils or 100 milligrams. Like I said, I don't know the specifics of the lidocaine that he used. So I'm just being general about toxicity here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he gave her more than one vial. In fact, I think his exact words were, "I gave her too many vials." Okay.
Well, he doesn't even have the
No, he doesn't
training or
know.
the skills to even know how much he actually gave her.
And I doubt he's even thinking. Oh, he did say that he felt like something eventually would go wrong, but he just didn't.
Oh man.
Yeah. He also admitted to being drunk and high at the time of this appointment.
Perfect.
So I need to also make it clear the importance of where she was injected. I felt like this was important. The site of injection matters a lot when we're talking about meds. Subcutaneous is in the fatty tissues. Muscular would be muscular tissues, like when you get like a vaccine a lot of times. And intravenously is the veins, like IV or whatever. Now, there is more to injectable meds than that, but that's the basics, okay? Lidocaine specifically absorbs rapidly if injected into a muscle or vein. He injected her tongue, which is
highly vascularized
and muscular.
Yes.
And anyway, he had no other medications there, and he had no other medical understanding, even to understand that he needed those or how to help when things went sour, basically. Yeah. Vasoconstrictors can slow lidocaine absorption, but again, he wouldn't have known that or had those medications with him. He wouldn't have had a skilled team of life-saving physicians or even equipment at this apartment. He was not even skilled at CPR. He didn't even know how to check a pulse properly.
Oh my God.
Okay. Soon after injecting Maria Cruz with the lidocaine, he says that she began to have labored breathing and started convulsing. He panicked, but didn't know what to do. So he called a friend of his who actually was a doctor, saying that he thought she was having an allergic reaction. I don't know what all the doctor knew about this.
There's no way to tell how much he told him.
Right.
Yeah.
And the doctor friend told Fialos, "You need to call 911 or get her to a hospital, like now." So Fialos panicked some more and he hung up. He said that she had like bubbles coming out of her mouth and she went limp. Lidocaine toxicity can cause symptoms related to neurological and cardiovascular collapse. You've got lightheadedness, blurred vision, numbness of the face, especially around the mouth, metallic taste, disorientation, drowsiness, muscle twitching, low blood pressure, low heart rate, unconsciousness, coma, and then respiratory depression and arrest, as well as cardiac arrest. I mean, it's rough. Now she needed what she needed was heavy supportive care at a hospital to keep her breathing and her vitals stable while being given meds to help absorb the lidocaine from her system because she was in toxicity. So did he take her to the hospital or call 911?
I'm going to say no.
He did not. He continued to panic. The man, like I said, he didn't even know how to check a pulse. He tried putting his ear to her chest at one point to see if she had a heartbeat. Literally, this is a terrible image that popped into my head earlier when I was researching this. You know, in The Little Mermaid.
Oh my God.
Scuttle puts the.
I can't find a heartbeat.
It's like listening to the foot. Like that's how I imagine this guy. Like he has no idea what he's doing.
That's him.
No offense to Scuttle. Great character. Love him. But Yeah, but when he didn't hear anything, he forced her body into a black suitcase that he had recently stolen from a roommate. And she may still have been alive. We really don't know. We don't know much of anything because nobody else was there. Bielos was not even qualified to check whether she was alive or deceased at this point. So he then put the suitcase in the trunk of his car and he drove to his home in New Jersey, his house that needed to be sold soon. He left the body in the suitcase in the trunk for 2 days.
Oh my God.
While he figured out what he was going to do next. Then he decided to bury her under the slab in the garage that needed fixing. So he did that, poured concrete over the grave, and carried on with selling his house. He hid her belongings, her purse, wallet, in this bag in the rafters of the garage where a housemate found them later. So as I mentioned, he was eventually brought back to the States and charged with second-degree murder, to which he pleaded not guilty.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, under a plea agreement in 2006, he agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of first-degree assault and practicing medicine without a medical license for a 20-year prison sentence.
I can't believe it was a plea deal.
He only served about 17 to 18 years at Attica Correctional Facility in New York.
Did he back out?
Where he apparently became a Quaker. Not sure what that was mentioned in there.
He did.
I don't know. He was released in 2022.
Great.
So there have been quite a few articles and interviews about or with him, including ABC's 2020 episode on the matter. It's quite fascinating. He seems more lucid these days, talking about it. It's interesting to.
He should still be in jail.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that that's all that was done.
I'm shocked. Yeah.
He killed a lady.
No, I can't.
He killed a lady and then he hid it.
Yeah. Well, what's fascinating is that there was Yes, internationally. I'm shocked that there was a premise for a plea deal to begin with. I'm thinking we got this guy cold.
Yeah.
I can't believe they actually put a plea bargain out there.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to hear that as well.
Yeah.
Dustin David Moore, I mentioned him alongside his name earlier. This was another dude. He faked being a doctor, but this time on social media under the name Mr. Injector 1. If someone on social media named Mr. Injector 1 is trying to sell you fillers or Botox or anything like that, don't do that. Okay?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. He's not even trying. Anyway.
That's terrible.
So he was injecting silicone-like substances into women's buttocks and counterfeits.
No, you got it. Go.
Counterfeit Botox into their faces.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the process of such actually when his clinic called Skinny Sculpt Med Spa. You see what I'm saying? That they're calling these places med spas.
Right.
They're not.
Mm-hmm.
In Pasadena, was California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, California was raided by police. He was charged with 3 counts of practicing medicine without a license, as well as 1 count of aggravated assault with serious bodily injury, and he received a 5-year prison sentence. He didn't kill anybody, but he did cause quite a bit of pain to at least one person. And I mean, he was injecting people with silicone. Silicone can do even with like breast augmentation, a lot of the time you're going to find that they're using saline now because it's a safer material, first of all.
Right. The original silicone implants, like they degrade, or you can get it in the bloodstream of the patient.
Yeah, and I mean they still use them if it's requested, but saline is what's recommended. But anyway, the whole just injecting of silicone, not just for like filler in the behind, but there's been filler parties where they do it up top too, and other places.
Terrible.
It's not a smart idea whatsoever.
No.
But yeah, he got 5 years for that. And yeah. Now, then there are those illegally practicing procedures and their patients are totally aware of it. But hey, it's cheap, so why not? Or they've heard like, oh, this guy's really good. He'll set you up and whatever. One example of such a case is Cardi B.
Oh my God.
And her tale of illegal bum injections. She basically found a black market injector to do this in 2014 for $800 in a basement. The substance injected, however, was silicone, and it was likely like industrial grade silicone. It probably was not medical grade either. I mean, you're not supposed to be putting silicone of any sort
Mm-mm.
in your body like that, but it's not approved for injection by the FDA, and it's very dangerous if it gets into the bloodstream, into the heart. It can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cardi B also stated the woman used no sort of numbing agent or anything, and that she suffered through intense pain immediately that lasted about 5 days as the stuff sort of leaked out here and there. Such injections can lead to short-term and long-term effects, including horrible infections, horrible ulcers, chronic pain, disfigurement, stroke, embolism, the silicone migrating, tissue death, and cancer. Silicone hardens within the body also. If it doesn't get into the bloodstream, it hardens. And it can be very difficult to remove without also removing even healthy tissue around it. So she later had to get surgery to remove the silicone remnants and byproducts from her buttocks. But she was fortunate. The same lady that injected her was later arrested after another patient of hers died as a result of these injections. So she was actually fortunate that she lived through it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, she talks about it these days as it was a mistake, never should have happened. Don't do this.
Yeah.
But she's not the only celebrity to have done this sort of thing either.
Mm-hmm.
Now, black market fillers are often done for breast augmentation and lips as well. It is once again important to always see a professional for such procedures and to know what is being used. Towards the end here, I do want to talk about what exactly is Botox. It's a purified and concentrated form of botulinum toxin.
Did we cover this ages ago, like a year ago?
We talked a little bit about botulinum. Botulism.
That's what it was.
Mhm.
That's what it was.
Talked about botulism a little bit.
Yeah.
But Botox is, it's a concentrated, purified form of botulinum toxin A produced by Clostridium botulinum.
Mm-hmm.
Botulinum toxin, which would cause botulism, is actually one of the most dangerous toxins out there. But in this case, it's injected into certain parts of the face to paralyze certain facial muscles so the face seems wrinkle-free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically you're not able to even move like that,
Yeah.
that part of your face. Or look younger. It can also help with muscle spasms. I mean, one thing about Botox, when it is done over and over again, I'm thinking of those getting Botox like from young ages. There are girls literally 18, 20-something years old going to get Botox. I think they just banned that in the UK where you have to be a certain age now to do certain things like that, or even with certain skincare products. They've been trying to like ban certain
Thank God.
things for certain ages, but they're
Yeah.
trying to go out of the country now to get it done too. Anyway, just something I read.
All I can see is Jeff Bezos' wife, her face. It doesn't move.
Well, you know,
Lauren Sanchez, whatever her name is.
what is Elvis Presley's daughter's name?
Priscilla Presley.
Yeah, she ended up with
Excuse me, is it Lisa Marie? Priscilla was his wife.
Priscilla was the wife.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Lisa Marie Presley. She had injections into her face, and I think it was industrial grade silicone. I think she was scammed, and they put some really bad stuff in her face, and it really disfigured her face. She couldn't move, she couldn't smile, she couldn't do a lot of things. So yeah, so just another example. But yeah, like in these cases though, where it's done over and over again, like when you're younger and stuff, the muscle being paralyzed is likely going to atrophy over time, because it's like you're paralyzing it, you're not using it.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that, and you're going to end up looking older earlier on if you're not careful, because it's going to lose that natural definition.
We just got to figure out what Paul Rudd is doing.
Paul Rudd is a vampire.
That's right.
Duh. He's probably taking care of his skin. He's probably got great genetics, and he's wearing sunscreen, and he seems like a happy fellow. He doesn't seem that stressed, you know? I mean, I don't know him, but I'm just saying he seems like he's pretty chill.
He's a cut up. All sorts of comedic types love being around him because he's a funny guy.
You know, stress can age you too. So yeah. Also, filler. What is filler? These are injectable substances that are used to enhance contours, restore volume, smooth out wrinkles.
Volume.
These days, filler is done like lips, cheeks, such. I can't afford this stuff, so I have no idea, like personally, how it feels or anything. Also, I would feel like if I looked at myself in the mirror, and like, no offense to anyone who does do this, but if I looked at myself in the mirror and something looked different, I'd be like, because I don't like differences. I can't. That's the reason why I haven't gotten a tattoo. Okay. Because like, I like the idea of it. It looks great on other people, but I'm worried I'm going to be like, okay, now I don't want it. And then what? And then what? Right? And then what? So maybe one day.
Mm-hmm.
But but filler can be made up of various substances. The most common, I believe, is hyaluronic acid fillers. This is like your Restylane, your Juvederm. These are
They
common
can
brands.
inject that as a filler?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
And for a long time, it was believed it would just sort of disintegrate with time. We've now learned that it actually just migrates for most people.
Ugh.
Some of it may go away, but sometimes it just migrates. Now you can get it removed with hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase.
That was it. You did it.
Hyaluronidase.
Okay. Good episode, everybody. Thanks for listening.
I can't say that word. I knew it was going to be a struggle for me.
Yep.
You can get it removed with a product that dissolves.
Okay.
Hyaluronic acid.
I only knew of that chemical in skincare. I didn't know it was being.
Well, it's natural too. You do have it naturally in the body. It's just it can be used, and that's why it's usually chosen, because it's considered like your body's not going to disagree with it. But yes, I will one day be able to say the thing that destroys it. I would suck at Hogwarts, right? Like they'd be like, "All right, say this spell." And I'm like, I could say it up here. Got it. Got it. But it's like, I'd be done. Hurt somebody. Okay.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah. Like I said, this doesn't always just disappear or absorb like previously thought. This stuff tends to migrate to other parts of the face wherever injected. So it can lead to unsightly lumps, puffiness, loss of volume where it should be. Also, if the filler is accidentally injected into a blood vessel, it could cause tissue necrosis and death. Actually, I have a lady that I follow on YouTube, Stephanie. So Stephanie lady something. Anyway, I watch her sometimes, and she had an incident where she went to a little boutique type place to try out the filler stuff, and she ended up in the ER because apparently some had gotten to where a blood vessel was and had started to like stop the blood from getting to that spot or whatever. They were able to help her out, and thankfully it was fine. But it was scary. It was very scary.
Yeah.
And I remember her talking about that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, this can block blood flow, lead to tissue necrosis and ulceration, that kind of stuff. So you would have like redness, inflammation, tingling, numbness, followed by some pretty awful wounds with that. Also, another risk is blindness, because there is risk for accidental injection into a retinal artery.
Yeah.
So, one last little thing here. In another scamming case, I wanted to mention this one because it was pretty awful. An older woman named Andrea, she visited Reshape You Cosmetics in Hull, I think this is in the UK, in 2021, originally for breast fillers. She thought she had done everything right in checking the place, but when she went back for facial fillers, the man who had told her that he was a doctor, Sean Scott, botched it terribly. He, in fact, had no medical training. Instead, he had bought this like honorary doctorate in business consultancy online. Didn't know you could do that. And just referred to himself as Dr. Sean Scott.
Yeah.
He later said that he had not lied about being a doctor, but he was told in 2024 to remove such titles by the whole city council because it was misleading. He was actually a former tattoo artist and was now running an aesthetics training academy.
Okay.
So I don't know how I guess you can just do that. You just get up and like start a business and be like,
yeah.
Yes. If you have the confidence, you're like, I know what I'm talking about. Even when I know what I'm talking about, I'm like,
you're still double checking.
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. Is it true? So yeah, he had prescribed antibiotics for Andrea after the breast filler operations, and she thought like he was legit, right? Since he had access to do such things. So he must be good. But he got these meds through a registered prescriber through an authorized pharmacy online somehow. So
how does one do this?
I'm wondering if he like got them for himself, like through somebody online. I've got something going on, and then like just pass them on to her. That's what I'm thinking.
So dang.
When I read that. Now, while he said he never told her he was a doctor, which is an outright lie, he told her that her cheeks were uneven and that he could fix her up.
Okay.
So he starts injecting fillers into her face, and she ended up with a lot of swelling and likely an infection that led to a good amount of scarring.
Yeah.
He told her it must have been a bug bite, not the injections that caused this reaction, though. So he told her that he just needed to give her more treatments, and he did, even while her face was swollen. And he says he didn't do it when her face was swollen, but okay. It's kind of a he said, she said thing right here. So she described her face later as looking like a gargoyle. And she did have some pictures up and stuff. And she suffered pain and PTSD for pretty long after. There were 2 other complaints made against this guy. And while he was looked into, no formal charges or anything have been made. And this guy sounds like he's just, like he's arguing with this lady. Like, I guess you're right. I'm not a doctor, but I'm still cool. I can still do this. Like he is.
It's terrible.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a doctor, but I'm not a doctor.
Uh-huh.
I can fix you up. So yeah, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any formal charges for this guy. There have since been pushes in the UK for tighter regulations on such aesthetic practices, though, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. But obviously, with every procedure or medication, there may be risks and, well, disappointing results. It's important to see a professional who is licensed to perform such procedures when choosing to do either of these, anything really. So there are also these events called Botox parties or filler parties. I don't know if you've ever heard of these. I mean, I've never been invited to one.
No.
I don't like going to parties, but if it's put on by a legitimate provider with all the right precautions, it's usually deemed safe. Like sometimes they have actual medical spas that are actually medical spas or like medical clinics and stuff that will put these on, whatever. But it, there are a lot of scammers out there that just inject God knows what. And like we've already mentioned, it's very important to do your research. So I wanted to end with some red flags, like to look for so that you don't get scammed. When it comes to procedures like this, here's some red flags. Lacking board certification. That should be when and where you stop, to be honest. You can check for physicians or estheticians' credentials, I think, online. With the American Board of Plastic Surgery, for instance, here in America, you can look up their licensure and stuff like that. For most nations, you can do this, although it's not going to be called the American Board. You know what I mean? They're going to have their own regulatory system. Stay away from people you cannot find on these systems, or that you cannot find. If you can't see that they're board certified, just don't. Mm-hmm. Most will also list experience and associations on their websites. Most doctors of any practice or any specialty will do this. Mm-hmm. So that's also good to look at. Most, and like make sure that those are legit. Here in the U.S., only a medical professional, including physician, nurse practitioner, registered nurse, PA, dentist, with additional certification can inject Botox. The same is true with most states for dermal fillers, but in some cases, estheticians may do so under supervision by a medical professional. So these qualifications are, of course, going to vary from state to state and country to country. Another red flag would be if they pressure you to book quickly or do so now, like keep calling and calling and calling you. Pressure to pay up front, if they're really money hungry. Also, unrealistic expectations. If they have before and after photos that seem edited or don't have them at all. Mm-hmm. Vague or misleading info on procedures or those performing them. Mm-hmm. If you don't have questions answered, just don't. Not meeting the surgeon during consultation. The surgeon should see you himself and be able to answer questions. Rushed consultation. If no one asks you questions or if you have any, not a good sign. Unsanitary or unprofessional environments. You should never have a procedure like this done in a basement or a friend's apartment. Lack of reviews. Is the price too good to be true? Is this one of those budget sort of friend, it's just, also gut feeling. Just trust your gut. If it feels like it's not okay, it's probably not. Mm-hmm. So, yes, be careful when getting procedures done abroad as well. You still need to research and be sure that the surgeon is legit and have a plan for aftercare and understand risks. Most cosmetic surgery, especially more invasive procedures, have pretty rough and long recoveries. They don't tell you that until you like get up in there. It's not like television where the patient comes back in and looks and feels great. It's like, oh my God, here's the transformation stage. They don't show you the in between with the swelling, the bruising, the drains, the inflammation, pain, possible infection, bed rest, all of that. It takes time to heal and it can be pretty rough. So,
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about that because I'd been seeing quite a few things in the news about people getting arrested or people suing, practitioners who are not licensed to be doing this stuff.
That's right.
And also with social media, I mean, you remember during COVID, that guy who tons of people were following, and he said that he was an epidemiologist. Is that what he said?
Yes. Pax, your favorite epidemiologist. That was his name.
Mm-hmm. And he was not at all an epidemiologist. And I think he claimed that for almost the entirety of COVID. It was a couple of years.
I forgot who took him down. I had to go back and see that.
I remember.
Yeah, because we would get updates. We would watch his updates. Like,
yeah, huh.
An epidemiologist is weighing in. Okay, this is good information for us to have, especially both of us as healthcare workers.
But then you would see somebody else with the same information. It's like, well, he probably just got it. He's just copying this. Which anyway, it was crazy stuff. There are people out there that will claim to be things that they are not, and it's important to just don't go buying things and trusting people without knowing who they are. So, yes.
Quick ad break.
What is this? Is it sad that I know that that's Twisted Sprout?
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for coming and watching and listening. We will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't get surgery from people who aren't certified.